in private and public law. I've focused on the public law Act because that's different in many ways, because it's the state versus the individual, whereas the private law aspect has weird bits of the state like Kafka's operating, but actually I haven't really focused on the private law aspect myself. So when I set up Justice for Families over a year ago, the idea was to bring people together. I think we've done reasonably well there. The idea of this meeting is to look at various subject areas, and stop me as I'm going through, please, so we can talk about things, and work out how we can take things forward and be more effective, because underlying it all, the system needs to change. There's no question about that. We need transparency in the family courts. That may mean operating like the youth justice system, where names are not used in press reports, but we do need transparency and we need accountability for everybody who's paid. Right? And there are lots of people who make a lot of money out of the family courts. And those people need to be held to account for what they do, be they CAFCAS or NYAS or whatever, be they lawyers, barristers or solicitors, whatever they may be, they need to be held to account for what they do. Now, the strategy that I've been working on for some time is to identify cases which highlight aspects of the system that are wrong. Get those cases highlighted in the media so that people know about it, and use that as an argument for change. And in practice, if you take what happened a week and a half ago when we had Fran Lyon's case on this morning, on TV this morning, interestingly, Denise Robertson, who's the agony aunt, was there as well. Now, she also knows how bad the system is, because a lot of people have contacted her. I did phone her earlier today, didn't manage to make contact. But we are hoping possibly to do a joint campaign with This Morning to emphasise the problems and get people to highlight with their members of parliament. Now, one important issue is casework. Casework is very important because people are, there are a number of corrupt solicitors around, and that causes a big problem. B, people feel alone and abandoned by the system. And I think Chrissy would confirm, we've worked on a number of cases over the last year, and sometimes actually you need to provide emotional support for people whilst they're being run through the mill. And if you can provide the emotional support, they can cope with the rest. But actually, when they've seen the steamroller of the state coming towards them to try and press them into the ground, it's very difficult to cope with that, particularly as all the experts seem to act against you at times, although there are some very good people. So we've developed a strategy for handling cases and would encourage people to work with us on this. And the strategy is when people come to us having a problem, we do two things. We try to identify a volunteer advisor, and we try to pass the case also to their constituency member of parliament. And the reason for that, in part, I can't as a member of parliament just deal with everybody in the country, it's impossible. But also, it's very important that members of parliament become aware of how bad the system is, because if it's only a small number of members of parliament who know how bad the system is, when it comes to changing the law, which is what we need to do, we won't have enough support. So that's an important part of the process. Now, if people have been reading the website, they will note that I've tried to, in discussing things with various people who worked as lay advisors and Mackenzie friends, we've decided to try to divide them into three types of people. Those people we describe as lay advisors, who really are mainly there for emotional support, but haven't got any experience in court. So they shouldn't expect to go to court necessarily, but they're there for people to talk to. Those people who we call Mackenzie friends, who are Mackenzie friends. Now, a Mackenzie friend will go to court with you, has some experience of court procedures, but doesn't necessarily, won't necessarily represent you. And then there are some people who have a lot of experience and can help getting forms filled in and can actually act as what we call a lay representative, where, although they're not legally qualified, they can assist people in terms of getting processes into court and going on beyond there. Now, the reason for dividing those categories is that we can then identify with people what their expertise is and aim to provide additional training and also coaching. So can go with somebody to watch what happens. Because Chrissy, I'm sure Chrissy would confirm, at the start of the year, she got pushed out of hearings, and now you get welcomed, don't you? It's quite good, isn't it? Because Chrissy's been involved doing sort of casework support with me for some time, she's gone through the process of change there. So that particular aspect, I'm going to go over a few things, then open the floor for people to discuss organisational points. One of the issues, if you get to the stage of filling in court forms and going through procedures, is actually the practical issues of how you get court forms, how you fill them in, how you get somebody with a bit more experience of the law, so it's not just you filled in the right names in the right place, but it has some chance of having an effect on reality. Most court forms are available on the internet through the court service website in a form called a portable document form, PDF. The difficulty is if you use the Acrobat Reader, you can't save those forms once you've entered things into them. However, there is a thing called JAWS PDF, and I've done a deal with the company called JAWS to buy 40 copies of their PDF editor, which I will provide to 40 advisors who are willing to do the forms, for them to be able to save forms. Then you can email them around to people to see, so if you're filling in forms C1s, C2s, whatever they may be, then you can get somebody to check it so that you filled it in properly before sending it off to the court, yes?
And the simplest thing is just put them in a Word format like I have. We've got C1, C2, C4, C3s in a Word format in tabular form, so that you don't change it. And they're available to everyone. You don't need a license or anything. They're identical. And you can fill them in different font, different colour, and people can come back, cross them through or whatever. So, it's very simple. I've put a lot of them already in Word format, and they're available.
It's another way of doing it. Obviously, we can share resources that way. Do you make them available on the net anywhere?
Yes, I make them available within F&F, but there's no reason why, if you're using this, that they shouldn't be available outside. I mean, it's just that I've done them for my own purpose within our organisation.
Well, if you would be willing to give us the Word format ones as well,
certainly.
If I can put those on my website to make them available, they then obviously become generally available and people will take them for various purposes. Personally, I would prefer to continue using PDFs because when you're producing a court bundle, you could actually merge all the PDFs together into one sequence. And although we had a bit of a struggle with the Corpus case earlier today,
as you know, with Word, you can actually save them to PDF afterwards. So
so then it's there. But
for organisations?
Families and fathers. The private law aspect of the family law as well.
We do actually work with public law as well, but it's...
I know, sometimes private law turns into public law, and sometimes public law gets private law. There's all sorts of situations there. But obviously the technical ones, to be able to save court forms and have them checked by people are quite important. Because if you fill in the forms wrongly, it don't work.
Get laughed at.
Yeah, I know. But that's another thing.
So, excuse me, the other beauty, sorry to interrupt, the other beauty of the Word format is you can send them out as samples, with samples filled in.
Exactly, yes.
And, that will be in coloured text, and they get an actual sample filled in, and you can hit several different ones, C1, parental responsibility, residence, privilege steps, so you can hit them with samples of what actually to write.
What I would ask is if you can email me your Word forms, we will then put them on the net on the website, so that they're available for anybody to use. But we will also make available to 40 people the PDF editor, so that you can edit PDF